Going live. Waiting for it to actually say live. You're live. All right. So welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom number 161. I'm your host, Greg Gaub. Today we got Gary and Gio and Luff and John and Don and J-Rod and Russ and Dewan and Jim and Garth and Phil and Mike and Big Dan and Chris and Dennis and Bill and other people, and we're going to talk all kinds of slot cars. And I'm going to insult the viewers out there who don't come on and they complain about this is all 1/32 scale slot cars. There's no H show. There's no 1/24 commercial racing. The reason is because you're too chicken to come on here and actually share your side of the hobby.
Please don't. Stay away. I don't want to have an H show. I don't want to have a commercial 1/24 craft. That's me.
I want them to come on and share their side of the hobby. So maybe they're just chicken. I don't know. But, we'll see what happens next week and in the coming weeks. As always, we start with show and tell. I've got a few things that I want to show and tell. If you want to show and tell something, as long as it's slot car related, put up your virtual hand, and I'll make sure to get to you. Bill had his hand up first. Go ahead, Mr. Royal.
All right. Can you guys hear me all right? Obligatory first question. All right. So the work is done. Largely, I finished the grandstand, the Racetrack Scenics Daytona grandstand. I have not glued on the top portion yet because I want to put in wire, some lighting into it. Let me pick this piece up and I will move the camera. Okay, so it's 36 inches by 18 inches. I'll move this around and hopefully I can stretch it.
It doesn't mean anything to me.
How many centimeters is that?
Let's see. Yeah. So let's get back a little bit.
That's massive.
See that there. And essentially, it's together. He did a really good job on it. There were a couple of things that I had to adjust a little bit, nothing too major, but stuff just to my own taste. Just work my way around there. And then the back, I've done a fair amount of work with. I still have to do some wiring. Hopefully you guys aren't not shaking you guys. Too bad. There we go.
How much time did you spend on it?
I don't even want to think about that. This has been the most challenging. Here, I'll run that through the back.
Just to be clear, is this stuff something commercial that you can buy off the shelf or you build yourself? Because it wasn't clear to me.
This is, hang on, I'm going to put the camera back down and get her back around. So what's that?
It's a kit.
Is this one something that you can buy off the shelf or you basically design and print it or whatever, cut it yourself?
So this is from Racetrack Scenics. It's a kit that they make. I've got a laser cutter, but there's no way I'm this good. This is it's really good work. And it's been a lot of work. Every piece has been primed, and individually painted. There's 480 seats in it. I'm going to go broke putting characters in, I think, which is why I think the theme of my layout is going to be racing during COVID. So, I'll have like 5 people standing there cheering. But
all with masks on, right?
What's that?
All with masks on.
Oh, yeah, lots of that. Pretty much. I did pretty well.
He's talking about the spectators will have masks.
Oh, I could do the masks for them yet too. I realized I was like, oh, this paint's getting pretty good in here. But yeah, some COVID masks might not hurt. So,
how big is your truck?
8 by 12. So this takes up a huge chunk of it. It's the inside pit area largely.
So basically the truck is the decoration around this stuff.
Oh yeah, part of it. Yeah, absolutely. The track, I mean, the track is just a part of everything that I do. I like doing, you know, the layout. I like racing the cars. I've been looking at this bare spot at the inside of the track for almost a year now. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I thought, well, I'll put it together. And then I saw this thing and I'm like, oh gosh, this is amazing. And you know, it's like going in for a big steak dinner when you haven't eaten in like 12 hours. And you look at the menu and you're like, yeah, I'll have all of these things. That's kind of how this worked out. And I mean, it took me a while. I had to bite off a lot of pieces a little bit at a time. But, you know, and all of a sudden on Saturday or Sunday, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, I might be able to finish this today, or at least finish it as much as I can until I do the detail work.
Totally worth it, man. Looks really good. Well done.
Thank you. I'm not a patient person, and I don't have, you know, I injured my left hand pretty badly in an accident, and so I don't have the stability or the, you know, my hand's kind of shaky a lot of the time. So it really it's an effort for me, but it's cool because it was one of those things. A couple of times I was like, I think this thing's got the best of me, and I didn't quit, and so happy with it. Thank you guys.
It looks amazing. Are you kidding?
Yeah, that looks
Well,
great.
John, I'm going to you as well pretty soon, or whenever you decide you want to start making some figures, and let's talk. I would love to see.
Actually, last week and this week, I've actually started taking photos. I've got my lists. I'm starting to put the photos on the list, and there will be a catalog very soon.
Wonderful. Well, no pressure. I thought of you as I was putting this in, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to need to talk
Oh
to
no,
John.
ask Greg. You can't pressure me.
Oh,
Okay.
how's the
That's
Porsche
true
going,
enough.
John?
You know what I mean? Yeah, perfect. Yep.
Yeah, there's this thing. Oh well, yeah. Thanks for everybody for listening to me groan about this thing. I love the project or the product itself. But you know, I think probably every year everyone here has had a project that's kind of gotten the best out of them for quite a while and kind of stymied them at every turn. And it's not the fault of the kit. It's just that I'm new at it. And so as a result, it really, yeah, it's been a fun effort to finish. So that's all I got.
And I'm sure we'll see more of that in the future as you add detail and people and whatnot.
You know, the main concern I have now is just how to get this into the middle of the track. I mean, I'm trying to figure that out because this thing is not light. And if somebody drops this, there are going to be some murders in this house.
Just
So I
build another
can't,
track. Build another track.
oh, no, it's not the track. It's this thing. I'm not building another one of these. Not for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they all
So you
say.
might see it. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Bill. And let's move on to Mr. Sampson. What you got today, Dennis?
Just a new acquisition. This is one of the SRC BMW 2800 CS model kits.
That's
It
nice.
came out a little while back. The race version, there's a race version and a rally version. This is from 1969 or somewhere around there, 24-hour at Spa. Pretty little car. Just a fairly basic underneath chassis. It does have adjustable front end. It does have a little bit of suspension at the rear and a long can. Surprisingly, it runs pretty well, even on its stock tires. So that's something that I've been doing this week. And then for those who want to see something that's not 1/32 scale, I'm busy with this. This is a Scholler chassis from Germany. And what's going on top of that is a Kyosho Mini Z 1/28 scale body.
That's the race that you're going to go do with Krister?
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that Krister and a bunch of the European guys do. And
That is so
I'm just
cool,
getting
man.
this one ready. I'm actually busy right here with getting the wheels and tires ready. got the rears done. Well, they're all glued now. They just have to be trued.
Well, the European,
Obviously, the front wheels have to be trued a little more than the rears right
A
now.
little bit.
Yeah,
so I was gonna
that's
say,
basically because I make those out of a piece of hard foam that I have. That's 40. It was when I bought it 40 inches by 40 inches by this one's by 1/4 inch thick, and so I cut it into 1-inch squares and lop a hole in the middle, glue it onto the wheel, and then I just turn the corners off to make fairly hard foam front wheels. So that's what I'm up to. And I'm not going to show them now because I want him to be surprised. I was working this week on a bunch of cars for Dewan. He and I had a thing going that we had a swap going, that I was busy restoring a bunch of Revell 132nd scale and 124th scale cars, and I think I showed the 124th scales last week.
Yeah, you
But
showed
the 132nds are all done now as well. But they're all packed away, and I'll be taking them to Electric Dreams tomorrow for him to pick up on Saturday.
Yes.
But they're all done, and they look pretty good. I must admit, there was very little wrong with them. It's quite amazing when you think about some of those cars come out of the late 1960s, and you clean them up, put a little bit of oil everywhere, touch them on a power supply, and they run up just as well as they ever did. The bodies are in pretty good shape. There's two, 64 Corvettes. There's two 1955 300, three 1955 Mercedes 300 SLRs. There's two Ferrari GTOs, and there's two Aston Martin DB4s, I think they are. And the bodies were all in good shape. One of the 124 scale Ferrari Squalo Formula Ones had a bit of a split up the back, which I've managed to seal up with some shoe glue, so it should be okay. But yeah, Dewan, I think you're going to have fun with them. I did run some of them on my track, and they all seem to run great.
You're just trying to justify that you made out like a bandit here, Dennis.
Oh, geez, I made out like a bandit because Dewan swapped me a complete, listen to this, a complete monogram Riverside track set.
You should be embarrassed.
in good condition.
In good condition, that he had cleaned up with cars that are okay, not as good as ones that I have already, but the whole kit with power supply, controllers, all the borders, the whole deal. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with it.
Dennis, for that swap, you should still be working on something right now, man.
On top of the what's it, 13 car. There's 13 cars that I did. There's still two Z28 Camaros that I painted in jet gloss black for him, and ethnically readjusted the drivers in them to be a little bit more representative, because this was a car that he drove when he was younger. So the drivers have been ethnically adjusted. And the only thing that I haven't been able to get is the centerline wheels for him. But
Yes.
I think he's got a place for those still to come.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dennis. And I just happen to have 3 of those kits floating around, so I've dropped one off for you. That's all.
Yeah, I would say the one just gave you the stuff you got tired of tripping over.
Yeah, quite possibly. And now I get tired of tripping over it because I don't know where I'm going to put it. If when you lay that thing out, it's a big set, right?
Yes.
It's probably close on 12, nearly 14 feet long, and then maybe 5 or so wide. So I think about the only thing I can do is really to build some kind of a frame that fits over the top of my wood track that's outside on the patio, and erect it there. But
Well,
yeah,
Dennis,
it's just.
I was going to say, as good as the one that you got is, you should see how good the one Dewan kept is.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I hope so. I really do. Anyway, so yeah, that's me for today.
All right.
Build a new hobby room. That's what I did. That's what I'm trying to do anyway. Build a new hobby room.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the space for that, unfortunately. I'd have to
All right.
move to Vegas or something.
Thanks for showing off your new stuff. And Big Den has his hand up. Go ahead, Big Den.
Hello, everybody. You'll all be pleased to know that I can only stay on for an hour today. So I've got an appointment later on this morning. So I'll just get it done and dusted. At the after chat last week, some of you might remember, I'm referring back to Wayne's coverage of Scalextric 124 track that he found at the UK Slot Festival. And I mentioned that I thought there was a club in Holland that had been going for some time. So I dug out the old UK Slot magazine. It was a 2015 edition. And I just did some quick photos with my mobile phone. I will scan them properly later on, but I just thought you might be able to. So I'll do a share here. And the club is called SR+TWO, which is Slot Racing Oosterhout, which I hope I've pronounced properly for Henry and all our Dutch viewers that might be looking. And that's just a picture of their homepage, and essentially what it's got mainly is a link to Facebook. So you could probably, if you wanted to have a look at that yourselves sometime to find it interesting, you can do so. Moving on, this is just a quick photo and a bit of a crop of the article from Slot magazine from back in 2015. That's the same picture, only it was taken in Canada. That's its grayscale. Sorry, John.
Taken in Oregon, maybe.
Awesome.
No one had bagged you so far today. So that's the picture of the track as it was.
Oh, look at that.
Depicted. All 3-lane Scalextric.
Very cool.
And some pictures there of the some of the members doing things at some stage in their history.
Cool.
From page 2, just a couple of pictures again from the magazine, which I will attempt to scan properly in the coming days. And and just another scan of the actual text of the report. So it's quite interesting. It didn't come up too bad, but of course someone watching afterwards could just pause that and have a bit of a read. But as I said, I will attempt to do a better representation of that. And I think that's it for today. So that was just a quick one for me. And
they had enough variations on the curves to make a 6-laner.
I really can't remember, Dewan.
Well, that picture depicted a 6-laner.
I think there might be, but
Yeah.
There was a huge 6-lane Scalextric 24. I got some pictures somewhere, but it's a 6-lane monster track. So yes, apparently
yes.
You could do it.
I think
Sounds
there were
like
at least
it
2
then, yeah.
curve radii.
Yeah, and you would have needed more room than that Reville track, I reckon, Dennis, to set it up.
Oh yeah, it'll be big then.
yeah. Okay, then I'll pass over to somebody else then.
All right. Thanks, Den. And Lightning, did you want to do your show and tell, and I'll pull up the pictures?
Yeah, can do.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and give me a sec here to share my screen. Come on. And there we go. And then just tell me when to skip to the next picture.
Yeah, it's been a while since I was last on the chat, probably about 2 years ago, I think now, actually. But I've been collecting quite a few cars and that since then. Still got nowhere to set my track up at the moment, but that's a future project for when we move house, planning on setting up a track. But just figured I'd just show off some of the more recent ones that I got. A few Carrera ones, actually, because another couple of picks down is pretty much the reason why I started looking into Carrera. But
Like these guys? Sorry, I skipped ahead.
which one you on at the moment?
It's up to you. Do you want to keep talking about this, or you want me to go to the next one?
Which one's that one?
We're looking at the ambulances and the Red Bull.
Yeah, the Red Bull is actually the most recent one that arrived. I actually bought that off eBay a couple of weeks ago. It's Weber's 2011 Red Bull racing car. And surprisingly, considering that was like 2011, 2012, I was having a feel of the tires and that, and it feels like that car's never been run. And I couldn't find any flat spots on it or anything either. So that was a pretty good find, that one, I think.
Yeah, and the Carrera F1 cars are just downright hard to get.
Mm.
Made them for a while.
And then
All
the
right.
other two there are just something different because I like vehicles like that, just different things.
Now, when you put those on the track, be sure to play with the different sounds, because when they're on different car IDs, they make different sounds when you press I think it's pressing the lane change button or something. But
Yeah, I heard
basically-
about that. That depending on where it was on the controllers, like which controller number, it plays a different sound.
Yeah, and every truck has a different set of 6 sounds based on whatever kind of truck it is. I think one of them even made a moo sound. Yeah, like the milk truck made a cow moo sound on for one of them. All right, how about the Electric and the Corvette?
Yeah, those ones I actually picked up when I was in Queensland just a couple of weeks ago. Got Dickie Johnson's Tirana there from when he raced in '73, which I actually didn't realize he raced Holdens. I always thought he raced Fords, but no. Seems like
He
he raced
started-
Tiranas when he first joined.
He started out in Tiranas. He had a what you call a sports sedan, had a XU1 the same as that, but had a Ford V8 in it as well. So I don't think that will be made, but that was the touring car that he ran in. Oh, was it 73, 70, somewhere around there?
Yeah, and the pace car is just another one of those cars that I just like. I like a lot of those sorts of, ones, pace cars, police cars, anything like that, really.
Yeah, and those tend to be fairly collectible as well, because people like them for the same
Yeah, and
reason.
all the flashing lights on those things also switch
Yeah.
on and off with the lane change button. Right?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I can't wait. I'm going to put mine on a digital track because I have all those, but I didn't know that they had all the variations of sounds when you do it
Oh,
on
yeah.
digital tracks. Wow.
Yeah, Carrera did not hold back on their sound chips, unlike some other sound chip creating companies. All right, how about these initial D cars?
Yeah, these ones is what actually got me interested in the Carrera side. I mean, I've got quite a bit of Scale Electric track and started getting into the digital side with Scale Electric, but these are what got me interested in looking in Carrera side of things, because I was actually watching one of the news videos that slot car guy did a couple of months ago, and he was saying about that he had the initial D86 in his collection, and I was like, I didn't even realize Carrera made initial D cars. And I've always been a big fan of the anime and that, so I just had to go try and hunt those cars down after I watched the videos and found them all.
Yeah, they were originally supposed to be for China only, right?
Yeah, the Asian market, yeah.
Yeah.
I expect you had to import them from somewhere, or whoever you bought it from imported it.
Them out of
Yeah, I
Hong
found
Kong.
them off
So-
of a guy in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
and he got him out of Hong Kong, probably.
Probably, yeah. All
And I
right.
noticed that Electric Dreams had them as well.
Yeah, we got him out of Hong Kong.
Yeah, they'll get just about anything from anywhere.
Mm.
Well, yeah, I got
And
a
then
story
Mario-
about that to come up later.
Oh, okay, we'll talk about that later. And then you got your Mario Karts here.
Yeah, a couple of Mario Karts. Well, when I had sight, I used to love playing the Mario Kart games, and when I saw that Carrera made those ones as well, I thought, yeah, I've got to have those in my collection too, to run around the tracks. But they're actually bigger than I thought they were going to be. I was not expecting them to come in that size. That's a 132 scale, and I was
Yeah.
not expecting them to be that big. Which
They
is
make
the other
1/3
reason
as
why I've
well.
got a lot of Carrera, because they actually don't quite fit on a scale electric track. I did a little push test on one of the pieces I've got, and they actually brush wheels as they go past each other, so they won't fit on scale electric.
That doesn't surprise me.
Oh, they'll fit on scale electric. They just won't pass each other on
They
scale
won't
electric.
pass each other.
Yeah. I can run them one at a time, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, running two on
Or
the
one
same
behind
time,
the other.
quite won't work.
And be sure to change the guides if you're putting them on sport track.
Uh-huh.
I
We have
actually
a lot of-
found
Classic
that
track
Carrera
anyway.
cars do run on scale electric track with the normal blades, except R1 bends.
Yeah.
You
And
can
if
do
you have
radius 2, 3, and 4, just not radius 1.
or if you have a joint that has decided to get smaller because of the loosening of the rails. Anywho, I'm gonna
My latest order with Electric Dreams would have arrived before today, but that's still on the way at the moment. But I got a couple more cars through there, a couple of the more JDM cars, and a Porsche that came in, which I think I actually got the last ones that you guys had of them. Because when I went onto the site after I'd placed the order, after it was processed, they either had sold out or they weren't even popping up in results anymore. So I think I got your last couple ones of those.
maybe you did. All right. Apparently today's for show and tell because I got more show and tell, but I'm going to show and tell my show and tell.
Can I show a quick mystery car?
Sure, Chris, go ahead.
Anybody know what this is? I've had it lying around for what seems like years now, and
You missed last week.
I think I'm probably just gonna give it away.
John finally mailed the package to Mr. McKenzie, and it is slowly working its way his direction, and he has popped out of the ether and shown himself on the YouTubes currently. So I said expect a package soon.
That's the only reason I came here, because I have I can show my face now.
You have proof.
So who's dealing? Are you dealing with him, Greg, or how is this going to work?
I'm doing as much as I can with John and helping him in any way that I can. But if he needs help from you, I'll certainly get.
No, I'll need a couple of sets of these because I'm sure I'm going to have to cut bits to fit.
Yep. I mean, the reason for the delay is making sure that he gets a car to do various test fittings on as well, and to redesign things to fit better.
Yeah, I sent him the whole kit so he can build whatever he wants. Yeah.
So when he's done, he should be able to send you ready to apply decal sheets.
Perfect, but I'll
hopefully
still
don't.
take two.
Yeah. We'll make sure you get extras.
Yeah. Well, now we just have to blame Canada Post.
Yeah, it's taken a while. It's not there yet, but it should be there soon.
Well, if you load up the moose too much, he's not moving, eh?
All right, so now I'm going to do my screen share, and I didn't get to the right tab, so we'll just do it on the fly. And we're showing that instead. Come on. Not that. There we go. Okay, so I just wanted to explain better the printing process that I was trying to explain last week, and I didn't have visual aids. So this is how I print the base and use a shim of plastic to be supports for the part that needed supports. Right, so it comes out clean. So this is the setup plate in the process of being printed. So you can see how there's just this massive hole where there is going to be a slot soon. The next one is it's gotten up to the point where I put the shim in. So I go ahead and put the shim in and then tell the printer to go ahead and keep going. And so it keeps going on the next layer above the shim. And so here's the shim basically supporting the next 0.2 millimeters of plastic. And so it's completed its process of making a slot. And then I just keep letting the printer go with that shim holding up the plastic. And it's added a couple more layers. and eventually, starts doing infill, and eventually it's done. And then I'm like, okay, well, now it's done. So then I pop it off of the printer bed, and there's the shim kind of half-ass stuck to it, and I just pop the shim off, and there we go, fully supported without having to scrape away or cut away or whatever away material that then just goes in the garbage. And you end up with a cleaner surface that gets supported by that. It's totally doable on pretty much any filament 3D printer as long as you use incompatible materials. So the shim is printed in PETG and the base is printed in PLA. They do not bond. In fact, when I was at this stage, you can see it kind of didn't bond very well. I had to do this like 3 times because I kept forgetting that I'm putting finger oils onto the shim every time I'm putting it down. And that is just not going to let plastic stick to it. So I had to make sure that when I put this down, I also gave it a good swipe of isopropyl alcohol to clean off my finger oils so that the next layer of plastic would actually stick to it.
And of course, it's cold too. It's not the same heat as the bed, right?
That's true, but generally speaking, when you're 3D printing like this, the previous layer is already cool.
True.
So it's the layer on top that needs to be hot, and it'll stick to the previous layer.
Okay.
But if this shim was made out of PLA, it would have stuck just fine. And then I would not have been able to get the shim off without damaging the print. So I might try that because it was such a pain to get that to finish on the PETG. But anyways, that's the technique. Any questions on that before I move on? I just wanted to do a quick overview on that.
Yeah, Greg, what was the purpose of the indentation there?
This is basically a braid relief. So if you want to put your car on and check the wheels for touching without your braid or guide having any impact on that, then you put your guide on this end. If you're wanting your guide to be touching the surface, then there's a slot on the other end that you can turn your car around and stick it on the other end. And if you really wanted to get clever, you could print permanently installed shims that give you a specific detent for if you have if you're doing a braided track with the braid slightly lower, or if you're doing an Ninco track with the braid slightly higher or whatever, you could set that up. But they are provided as is, and I've uploaded the models to printables, and I'll put a link in the description so people can go download those and print those out.
What would this version be compatible with? Do you have
well, I made a 132nd. I made a 132nd and a 124th. They're both up on my printables to be downloaded.
How deep is that?
Yeah,
it's 2 millimeters. So,
how many?
It's 2 millimeters. It's made.
Wow.
It's made so that your braids aren't touching.
That's right.
So it's not. Yeah. So it's not. This detent is not made for you to set up your guide and ride height. It's just to keep the braids from getting messed up when you put it down on a surface.
Well, that's nice because then anything that you put in there to change that at least has a certain amount of thickness in itself. So, for example, you could go in there and use a piece of 1/16 inch 062 brass, and that would then give you about a 0.5 millimeter or 0.4 of a millimeter recess.
Yep.
On top of the brass.
Yeah, I think Chris suggested when I was showing off the design last time that you could just put some sheet styrene strips in there and set your own.
Well, whatever thickness you want. But
it's easy to do. Popsicle sticks, whatever you got, but you just
so knowing that that's 2 millimeters, then you just find whatever material you want to get to the height you want.
Yep. Nice.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Moving along. I got my Sillage Racing controller in the mail yesterday, and I was able to take it to the races last night. We had them on Tuesday instead of Monday, and it's really cool. The guys really thought it was pretty cool, and I thought it was pretty cool. For those familiar with the slotted SCP controllers, the feature set on this controller is pretty much identical. You have all of the same adjustments, though maybe with different limitations as the slotted. But of course, it's implemented differently. So this is the controller. It uses a Cat5 cable from the handle to the box that's at your track. I had to put my own XLR connector on there. Inside the box, there's screw terminals, but there's also solder pads if you want to solder the wires straight to that, which is what I'll be doing next. But your Cat5 plugs into here, and basically the controller tells the power management in here what to do. The selling point of the controller is the OLED screen on it, which shows you your settings in a variety of ways. And I'll probably do a video tutorial on this, or maybe just clip out this section of the chat, because I took a whole bunch of pictures to kind of go through how this controller works. And it's really cool, but it's hard to get a good picture of the OLED screen that's in focus because it's behind plastic, which is good for the protection of the OLED screen, but not good for picture taking. So I did my best. Some of it's a little fuzzy. So when you turn the controller on, you get the Sillage Racing logo. And then as soon as it's booted up, you're presented with the settings screen. Without pushing any buttons, this is what you see. You see your min speed this is the number of your min speed below there. The curve number, which is how aggressive or how soft the curve is. And then your brake strength. The min speed goes in increments of 1% up to 60%, from 0 to 60%. The brake goes in increments of 5% from 100% down to 0%. And then the curve has, I think it's 8 soft settings and 6 aggressive curve settings. So about 12 or 14 or whatever different settings between linear, above linear and below linear. As soon as you press one of the knobs, you get a slightly different screen. You get to choose the max value of your throttle, so you can choke it down to less than 100% power. You get ESP, which is essentially traction control. So like the green knob on the slot it, so you can turn that up. I think there's 10 steps to basically control how quickly the voltage is applied. And then you get anti-lock brakes, which is brake dissipation. So currently it's set at 0 anti-lock, so it's going to have 100% brakes the whole time you're braking. If you change the ABS, it'll show the dissipation line, and that gets more and more vertical the higher you get to 10. It's got 10 ABS settings, from no ABS to basically quick dissipation of brakes. So you could basically have it just hit the brakes hard and then release brakes pretty much right off the bat, or anywhere in between. And it also shows a line for the voltage ramp being applied. So this is traction control level 5. Shows a little angled line to represent that. And I was playing around with mins and maxes, and for the minimum, as I mentioned earlier, you can go up to 60% for your highest minimum speed level, which is plenty for any car that I'd ever drive. And your maximum can actually go down all the way to 1. So you could actually set the controller up to have a minimum speed of 1 and a maximum speed of 1, and your car would not go anywhere or do anything. Or you could set the minimum speed to 60 and your maximum speed to 60, and it would basically be an on-off switch of a controller. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but you can. If you press the buttons and then press the brake button, there is a brake button on the back side. I think kind of see it in this picture there. Little brake button, kind of like for digital controllers, because he has in fact kind of set this up for his digital system upcoming. But if you're looking at the screen, you're making your settings, you press any of the buttons, like you're going to change your max speed and stuff like that, and then press the brake button, you get a ghost mode. And this lets you change the ghost speed percentage. I assume it's 1 to 100. I didn't go all the way to see how fast it would go, but 1% increments from 0 to 100. Not sure what brake and time represent. I haven't done anything with ghosts, so maybe I'll find out in the future. Forgot to ask David when I was talking to him. And then if you're in this mode, as soon as you release the brake button, it goes back to your other mode. Or as soon as you press the brake button again, it goes back to the regular mode. But if you press the knobs and the brake button and then pull the trigger, you toggle between Pro, which is what we've been looking at, or Kid mode. In Kid mode, none of the settings can change. You can twiddle the knobs all you want, but you have to do the pressing the knobs and the brake button and the trigger to go back to Pro mode. In Kid mode, this is all you see. a car number for digital purposes, and then a color number. This is, of course, gris, which is gray in French. And you got I think it was 10 different colors that you can choose from when you set up the controller. And you can enter setup mode by when you turn the controller on while holding the brake button. Now you get to choose what color is shown on the screen, what car number is being represented from 1 to 15 for his future digital system, and then whether the display is in A for analog mode, showing the graph, or D for digital mode, just showing numbers. So if you switch to D, then this is what the screen looks like. So just showing the numbers below what you're changing. So if you don't like the graph for some reason, you can not look at a graph. You can set it so the screen just shows numbers. And of course, when you push the knobs, you get options to change the max and the traction control and the ABS. And that was pretty much it on the controller. I got the race version, which is 30 amps continuous, 43 amp peak. So more than enough for any car I'll ever drive. And several of the guys at the club were very impressed and are already contacting David to buy one. Gio probably wants to know how the throttle felt, because this controller, see if I can get a good view of it here. This controller uses an infrared array of infrared gates in this little triangular shape that you see here. 14 infrared gates are cut by the top end of the controller as it passes through the infrared gates. Felt great to me. I had no complaints whatsoever about the level of control I had, or the resolution of control. Did not at any point feel that 14 was not sufficient. More discerning fingers might feel differently, but I cannot not recommend this controller. Great controller. 230 euros for the race version. And then there's a club version that does 10 amps continuous, and a home version that does 3 amps continuous, and those are both incrementally less expensive. And then there is a wireless version, which is basically the race version plus wireless. One of the things I forgot to mention is, as you can see right there, there's actually a battery built into the controller, and that's so that you can have the controller on before the track gets power, because there is a slight lag from when the controller is turned on or boots up, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 tenths of a second, enough to miss the whole shot if you're trying to get the whole shot on a dead start track. But if you turn it on ahead of time, then controller does not send power to the track, so you can't make the car go without the track being powered. But the computer inside the controller is already booted up and ready to go. So as soon as the track gets power, the car jumps just like an analog controller does. But the fact that there's a battery in there also allows you to make changes to the settings when the track is off, or when you're not even connected to a track. You can manipulate the settings. That's how I got pictures of the screens, is sitting here on my little work table here. So that's kind of nifty. What else? That's all I can think of for now. Does anybody have any questions? Wow, I did a really
cool. Thank you.
Are there different triggers, or is it just the one?
Yeah, I asked him for the 2-finger trigger. He does have a single finger trigger option as well. So if you order one, let him know what kind of trigger you prefer. I'm actually gonna see if I can get it a little bit longer. My index, or my middle finger was just right at the tip. So I'm going to see if I can make that a little bit longer, but it's 3D printed, so easy to replace. Oh, there is a ball bearing on the trigger. So it's not just a bushing, it is a ball bearing for the trigger pivot. So that's nice. The spring is fairly light. And I probably don't have a good picture of it. Oh, you can actually see it. So there's a series of holes for the back end of the spring. And it's kind of right in the middle as it is. So you can make the spring even softer or harder than as it comes. I'm sure you can replace the spring if you like a really stiff spring as well. And you can replace the Cat 5.
Is that the DS handle? Or is it?
It's an MRRC, so basically the same as DS. Yeah.
Okay.
Very comfortable ergonomically.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
and the Cat5 cable for communications is a standard Cat5. So if it ever cable fatigues on you, you can just unplug it from inside the handle and replace it with any off-the-shelf Cat5 cable. All right, any other questions?
No, I'd just like to say, Greg, when you had that last night at the track, it's amazing. I was sold after you let me run it, but the fact that the throttle curve, the brake curve, and everything is on the fly as far as being able to see that curve. So as you're looking at the curve and you're adjusting it, the curve moves. So it's really pretty neat, but I kind of liked, it's the lightest trigger pull I've ever seen, but I kind of liked it. So I mean, I'm already trying to get a hold of him too, to get one ordered. So I really like it.
And don't forget, David is in France, so he's already sound asleep right now. So don't expect an immediate response.
No.
I also noticed while I was making adjustments that you don't have to let go of the trigger for the adjustment to take effect the next time you pull the trigger, like on the slotted controller. With that, you basically have to make your adjustment, pull the trigger again. With this, I was driving around and changing the max speed and min speed while the trigger was being held. So that was kind of cool. So like if you use that technique to set your minimum speed, hold the throttle just just off of 0 and then change your min speed, it'll actually change the speed of the car as you're turning the dial.
Also, your knobs, as you turn them, they have little detents in them, so you can actually feel the click in each knob versus just freewheeling when you turn them.
Yep. The little detents in the knob that give you that haptic feedback that feels nice. Also, to change these maximum traction control and ABS settings, you have to press the knob in and then turn the knob. But I found that you can press any of the knobs and then turn any of the knobs. So it's kind of hard to press and turn a knob without accidentally unpressing it while you're turning it. So you can just use your other hand to hold one of the knobs down and then turn the one you actually want to change, and then do your settings, not having to hold the button down that you're trying to turn and not cover up the screen to see the changes and stuff, depending on, how you're holding it or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a great controller, and, basically what you get is about on par with a slotted controller and a cartridge for that controller, right? So like the home version of this controller is about the same price as an SCP-2 or 3 with an analog cartridge for home. The race version of this is about the same cost as an SCP-2 or 3 with the high amp metal cartridge. So both great value controllers. And if you like the screen on this,
well, the only other thing I would say is I use the Third Eye FET 2, and that controller is substantially more desirable, I think. But
this one more desirable than this Third Eye?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's praise right there.
There you go.
So how do you feel comparing with your SCP-2 or 3, what you're using for analog?
I would say
swap between the two.
I didn't swap between the two last night because I really wanted to give this controller the chance for me to get used to it, rather than trying to swap back and forth and never get used to it. I didn't do so well at the racing last night, but my car was not performing very well. I have some work to do on my car, so I'm not going to blame the controller for that. I'm blaming the car. But as far as comfort and feel, I would say this is easily as comfortable, if not slightly more comfortable, to hold in the hand. A lot of people hate how the SCP feels, like a Professor Motor controller with softer edges, basically. And the spring is, I would say, just very slightly stiffer than the SCP spring. So I didn't feel like I was having to pull hard against what I'm not used to. But yeah, so I got used to the controller very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to say that, you know, during the race, but if you had done some testing in your own truck, because
No,
if you had done like
my track is still covered with stuff. I'm working on the tire chewing machine and other projects and stuff. So I didn't actually do anything but hold a car up on its, I don't know, off of its wheels while I was testing at home. But yeah, eventually I'm sure I'll do a more, you know, definitive comparison. But you know, right now it's flip a coin. You know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Duan.
I was gonna say, did he indicate if he's considering making a wireless version?
Yeah, this is available wireless right now. You could buy this wireless.
Really?
Right now. Yeah. In
Okay.
fact, I think I was talking. Yeah, Henry, who comes on here. I think he ordered the wireless. So we'll probably find out from him how that.
Okay.
Yeah, and eventually it'll be for David's digital system, which I don't think is compatible with any other system. It'll be his own unique digital system. But there's that option too.
But when you say digital system, you're talking about for running on his trucks, or it's gonna have
yeah, I'm guessing it'll be a bespoke digital system. So you know, when he makes a digital track, and people don't specify, you know, I want Electric or Carrera or whatever.
Yeah, it's gonna put. So the only thing that he needs is just by pressing one button to change a lane to go into the pit lane. That's what he just needs.
Maybe for digital use, it'll be that back button. You know, who uses brake button? Oh,
we did. We did SSD.
Some people do, and that reminds me that the brake button is always 100% brakes. So if you turn your brakes down, then when you hit the actual button, you'll get full brakes. So you could use it like the slide controller. Use lower brakes for when you're going through a technical section, and then when you're coming down the straight into turn 1, you hit the button for full brakes.
Yeah. So maybe not next week or the following week. I mean, I got like the Apex from True Speed, and you know, when I was racing SSD, I mean, do a bit of an overview of what the controller. But when I was using SSD and using the brake button with the True Speed controller, basically that button is in the same spot as another important button called the boost in the Apex. Which basically I will review later on. Yeah. It's very comfortable. I mean, I already, you know, I'm ready to use it, right? I mean, I'm already, my kind of coordination with the hands is already there. So
yeah,
that the stupid things that we're doing with SSD basically is coming
in handy.
Become usable, yeah, for analog racing.
Yep. All right, I do want to move on to my truing machine. Does anybody have any other questions on the controller?
Where are they available?
At this point, I believe you have to contact David through his Sillage Racing Facebook group or his website. I'll go ahead and put links in the description for that. But you know, he's one of my Facebook friends from previous discussions on all kinds of variety of things. But I posted on Slotform, you know, post saying, hey, I want one. So, you know, you could go to Slotform and private message him. You can go to Facebook and message him. He does have an email address, which is contact@sillage-racing.com, I think off the top of my head, but I'll double check that and put it in a chat. Yeah, it's not in a store just yet, but I'm sure, you know, he'll have an easier way to order at some point in the near future.
I found the website, but there's nothing about on the website about the controllers.
Yeah, Sillage Racing website doesn't have controller information yet. Yeah, it's pretty much all on either the Slotform thread or his Facebook page group, whatever it is. Yeah. So I'll give that link out. Yeah, Big Dan?
Yeah, I just wonder, as I'm about to head off shortly, whether I could do a quick club corner.
Sure, go ahead.
With the permission of all the other fellas that I'm jumping in front of.
Yeah, they don't care.
Thank you kindly. Okay, so I'll start off. I'll get a share going. Yeah, for the first time in about a month, we were actually able to get enough guys turning up in the same place at the same time to. I've got the thing open, so why can't I see the share? Okay. I'm just going to start again.
Gonna run out of time.
Yeah. Call me names. I got no idea why this isn't showing the picture that I've got open. I'll just take a punt. Oh, is it there now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay then. So last Friday night we had 7 people turn up, starting off with V8 muscle cars. What's wrong with this picture is that the oldest, probably the oldest car there, a brass chassis, whatever that is, a Camaro or something, written on a driven by the son, totally outclassed the Shelby 350 driven by the father. And I had a look at the car. Yeah, it was just so unpredictable. It was coming out of the slot all the time. And I had a look at the car on behalf of the owner later on. It looked to me like the front tyres were just so hopelessly out of round, and it seemed to have this oversteering problem. And every time if the front tyres were high, when it got to a corner, it ran out. When it was quick, but it just wasn't in the slot long enough to get any decent lap score. So another look there at the field. Incidentally, you'll see by the results that I ran the little Pioneer black and gold Mustang, and it was just outclassed compared to the other cars. Moving on to Group C, and the father of the chap who won the muscle cars redeemed himself with a win in this class. So that's Leon at the front there. I ran third, and and another look, and by the scores you'll see that I was a little bit closer at the front end this time. Oh, it was about a lap behind second place by the look of it. And then on to our last class for the night was Revo GT2s. Quite a mixture there with predominantly Porsches, but we had 3 different body styles in first, second, and third, with the track owner taking out the gold medal, and I was third on the same score as Leon, who won the previous race. So a very enjoyable night. One of the chaps posted on our page later on that he had tyre gremlins, so I assured him that he shouldn't clean his tyres with water, or the gremlins would probably get a lot worse. If you can get the drift of that.
I understood that reference.
You did good, yeah. Well, you're not as young as what I thought you were.
And don't feed them after midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then, folks. Well, that's it. Thanks for your cooperation there, and I'll head off now and go and get my feet fixed, get them out of my mouth, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for coming,
Okay.
Dan.
Yes.
All right. So before this will only take a moment. I just want to announce I've decided on pricing for the G&S Tire Grinder. We're going to go with, or I'm going to go with $150 for ready to run shipped, not shipped, but plus shipping. So probably only be $10 shipping in the States. I'm happy to ship internationally, but costs will vary, of course. So if you want a complete, ready to go machine, $150. If you want to build the machine yourself, then I'll sell you all the plastic parts and all the metal parts and motor and everything ready to build it yourself according to the video that I recently posted, which you've probably already seen if you're watching this, for $100. So if you want to save $50, you can get everything you need and put it together yourself. If you're just kind of a maker type person and you believe you have all the parts and want to source all the hardware yourself, but don't want to bother printing the parts, or don't have a printer or access to a printer, I will sell you all the printed parts for $50. So easy peasy. 50 for prints, 100 for prints and hardware, $150 for completed, ready to use machine. I don't have a website. I mean, I don't have this on my website yet. I don't have an eBay or anything like that. So if you want one, you just got to email me. If you don't know my email yet, it's ggAUB. That's ggaub at ggaub.com. ggaub at ggaub.com. So there it is. We'll see how that works out. Okay, so got more show and tell to do. Gio, you ready to go? Go for it.
Yeah, so this is just arrived in the mail. So from the local, we have a local kind of eBay type of site in New Zealand where you can either, you can basically auction something and then you have to participate in the auction, or basically you can have a buy now with the price fixed to it, right? So these basically are just a ride. So I don't know even the condition that they are in. So this is the car that I really wanted. So I think you can see
Porsche.
yeah. So it's an
Ninko.
Classic. Yeah. So this was the one that I really wanted, and so I kind of set my price size bit to 120, I think, and basically went up to 110. Maybe too much for what it is, but I really wanted. Because I don't have this one, so I don't know if you are aware, but I've been buying some Ninko Classic, especially from Spain, from Obi Classic, I think. But we didn't have any of these because Greg bought all of them, so it's bought. And in the same guy that was auctioning that car had another Ninko Classic, which was actually, I wasn't really interested in that, but once you get in the auction.
Gio, is that a Ninko car?
The previous one, yes, yeah.
Okay.
But this also is another Ninko Classic, which is okay. I mean, I'm not really a huge fan of this one, but
keep in mind the cost is relative to the desire of the buyer.
Jaguar.
Yeah.
Experimenting.
So this one I was going, like I said, okay, I fixed my highest price to 75. I mean, if I'm gonna lose it, whatever. But then I got into the rush. I said, no shit, I'm gonna want it. So then this went up too much. It was like a double that price basically. But finally I kind of got it. I mean, last basically 5 minutes of the bloody thing was going up. So yeah, at the end it was actually this one is even better condition than the Jaguar, than the I mean the Porsche is a bit of patina, let's say, but it's just dust, total dust. Well, yeah, that's my show and tell.
Well, the price is always valued with respect to the desire of the buyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was stupid enough to get into it.
No, you like it. That's
the sucker point every minute.
Whatever.
Have you put them on the track yet?
Say again?
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh no, I was just saying he enjoys it. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, I think, in my view.
And they don't run too bad. I mean, if you clean up the tires, make sure they're round, the rubber's pretty good. They run quite nicely.
Gio, is that a split windshield Porsche? You know, the windshield is two pieces that make a V.
It's a one single piece. I don't know if you can.
Okay.
Is it just yeah? I don't know. Do they have like the split windshield? These ones? I don't.
Early ones.
Very early ones.
Okay.
Well, I had a chance to buy a split windshield one a long time ago for like $7,500. You know, who knows how much the thing's worth now, but I was no Porsche expert, and it looked like it might have a little rust, so I didn't go for it. Anyway,
those are 1-to-1, or are you talking about a flat car?
And now they go for multiple hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Gio. And let's move on to Dennis.
Yeah, I got something that I just want to check with you guys. Let me share screen. It has to do with Carrera. and it has to do with Carrera. This is not going to work. I've got to try something else. Hold on. If that's not the right screen. Where the heck is it? Oh, here it is. Did that come out? It's a picture. It's a picture where it's a YouTube video.
Yep.
Right in the center of this is a police car, and as this thing zooms in, you'll see the police car, the lights that are on it.
Oh.
And you'll see that it has the normal flashing lights on the roof, and then it has these triple flashing park lights up front, and there are some little orange ones right in next to the main headlights.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, it has a red and a blue light in the back of the window. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now. Because did you guys see that?
Yeah, that's not how that car came.
No. I know that. And so unfortunately does my customer at Electric Dreams. However, he asked me to do something like that. So one of the things that I did was to try and get hold of the guy who made that YouTube video, who said to me that he got a lighting kit off of some guy off of eBay in Germany, and he can't remember who it was or where it came from. And so what I'm asking is, anybody out there know where this came from? Because, and let me go back to, now I'm going to share another one. The best that I can get so far out of using a regular Carrera chip, or the Carrera chip with the light flashing functions and extra flashing pieces, the best that I can get is this. So alternating flashing at the front, it has the flashers at the top, it has alternating flashers at the back. All right.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
The customer doesn't like that.
Well, I'm waiting for him to say, but I mean that's the closest that I could get using just the Carrera chip. So has anybody an idea of who it is in Germany that makes a chip that has all those fancy flashing lights on it? Particularly the things that give those the triple flash thing, because that's really a major that strobe effect, that's a major police car attribute, right?
Well, I mean, I would like to have something like that also, like in my cars when they go inside the pit lane. So, you know, the system detects that is in the pit, and it would be nice if the chip would tell the bloody light kit to basically flash like that. Unfortunately.
Okay.
So I don't know anybody that does that. I mean,
all right. I just wondered whether anybody had a feel for where it might have come from.
Unfortunately, I can't see them myself or whatever, but it's something that I'd love to have on my police cars as well. The whole kit where it's all flashing like it would be in real life. That actually sounds really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
have you tried the ANE? Have you tried the ANE system? It's a German one.
Which one?
ANE.
No, don't know them.
They sell them over here out of Brisbane, but it has I don't know if you can see that's a picture of if my photo can get up on the screen, you can see it better, but it's a photograph of the layout that I've got on one of the cars there. And it when it's stationary and once the charge capacitor is charged, after a couple of seconds, it starts flashing to let you know that it's no power then, but it comes back on again and it'll.
Oh, Greg's gone missing, unfortunately, so you can't zoom in on what you're showing us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great.
yeah, but the flashing when the car is stationary or out of the track, I mean, that's basically a lot of other, I mean, like a Zeta machine, they can do the same as well.
Yeah.
But do you want that kind of things that when the car is stationary, that does the triple thing, or is to do the triple thing all the time?
All the time.
And so basically, an analog chip like that will not do this to you. It will do only when the car is a static, stop.
Oh, on focus. There it is.
Yeah, to alert the people, the marshals.
That looks a lot like the. It looks a little more
on
like
the chip there. It has a provision on there that you can add an extra charge capacitor on there, plus extra wires for different wiring, all the way up and down on the chip itself.
Yeah, I see that.
And the chip's the chip's very small. There's a little chip there. And that one comes with 4 LEDs at the front and 2 at the back, but there's provisions to put more on it. And they have different layouts on their website. If the printing's that small, I can't even read the.
Oh, you can't even read the website?
No, not with these eyes. Not even with glasses on.
All right. Okay.
It's got mail. The website or the website or the email is mail to office at ane/slotshop@.at, wherever that is.
ANE.
Yeah, ANE.
You cannot type in the chat, can you? Always the name of the company.
Hold on, I got it.
You know what else that kit would be good for if that red and blue flashlight is for, like when Wayne was at the 24-hour race and it's dark? You throw that on top of your car. You'll see your car from anywhere.
That's the one.
And psychologically, you'll mess with everybody else who will want to slow down.
But I don't think that you will be allowed to race such a car.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
I am that guy.
Lots of choices here. Wow.
Lots, yep. You pick them. You can build your own as well.
ANE/slotshop.at. All right, I'll check that out. Thank you.
ANE-slotshop.at.
ANE-slotshop.at.
I'll put it in the chat so that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, hopefully that might have been the one.
Maybe.
Talk to the guy who did the fancy flashing and say, hey, was it this one?
Yeah, he said he doesn't remember.
Oh, yeah, maybe it'll spark his memory. But hopefully that gets you what you need.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty, Mike, you're next, sir.
Well, I actually don't have anything to show because all of you've seen it already. I ordered the first Polycar set. So Polycar is in my future. I found a really good price on a drift set, like close to half of what everybody else wants. And so I'm going to get a bunch of that going. And it also gives me another set of cars because the BRZs, I have one already. So it'll give me 3 cars so we can race those. So
what are you sharing, John? A website here? You started screen sharing. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah, this is from their Facebook page. ANE Slot Scale Racing is the Facebook page in Germany, and they say that they're partnered with Cloverleaf and Slot Car Corner in the United States.
Oh, so you can get their stuff from those stores probably.
I guess theoretically, that's what it says anyway.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
All right, were you done, Mike? Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to, Ratby decided he was going to purchase my other Scalextric track, and because he's going to put one in his basement when he gets his basement resettled. And so consequently, I'm going to do the Nordwestschleife in Polycar. So I will have the choice of doing oxygen or SSD.
I mean, you don't need a Polycar to do oxygen, huh?
Oh, no. But I'm going to do Polycar anyway. So
actually, at the moment, you cannot do either of those because still the lane changes are not there. Plus, how are you going to do pit lane?
Yeah, way out. But I do have the workaround if I want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they have lane changers now, according to their website.
No, I don't think
Not on the market
they aren't available yet.
Yeah. It's only kind of an XLC, not a pit lane one. So maybe you can do the mess around with an Ingo.
Yeah, the first ones are going to be sold out in about a heartbeat.
Yeah.
The first lane changers.
All car lane changers. Especially because people are buying the XLCs to make pit lanes with them.
Yeah.
They don't have a pit lane yet. Yeah.
Well, actually, that's one of my workarounds with that is that I could, since I'm going to use probably do an SSD base originally before I start doing oxygen, I'll do the workaround, but I'll do the whole pit lane setup. You know, the straight within Scalextric.
Yeah.
And that way I can, you know, I have the adapters for it and I can do it that way. That'll make it easy. Since I already have the pit lane and everything.
Yeah.
So, but it should be interesting. It'll be another, an interesting thing to figure out. And we'll see. I'm interested to find out what the traction level is going to be compared to what I've got now.
Oh,
and I'm sure it's going to be a little better.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will be more consistent. We have a little bit of hard time with temperature changes with traction levels on SSD. If it gets, you know, if it's 65 degrees in here, it's fine. You can consistent traction, but it goes up to about 72, and then we start to get too much traction and it lifts the front ends out. So, you know, you can tune around that, but having to change weight and stuff, you know, during the time.
So basically, you are gonna get a lot of that wheelie because you will have so much traction with the polycar.
Right.
Yeah. So that
I'm sure I'll have to change my methodology as far as that.
Yeah.
So
it'll be different.
tuning.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Looking forward to updates on that. Thank you, Mike. And Gio put his hand up again. What's up?
Basically club corner. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and transition to club corner. If anybody's got any club stuff they want to talk about, past, present, or future, put your hand up. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just trying to check. Okay, so this is the pit lane in my truck. So I've been adding a couple of lines. So there is one here that indicates the end of the pit lane, and one here that is the start of the pit lane. So maybe you can see better on this end. And so you can see basically space between cars stopping at the beginning and cars stopping nearby the end, how much space there is. And this is from the other hand. The main reason why I kind of indicating like where you have the boundaries of the pit lane is because I want people to refuel when they are within these boundaries. Because sometimes what happens is that people might stop instead of where this car is, they might stop on the lane changer on the single to double or the double to single. So they stop here or here and they basically stop other people to go out, which basically it's not what I want. So basically I put the boundaries, and yesterday I told the group that if you do pit stop outside these boundaries, then you're gonna get stop and go that is 10 seconds. Plus I also made it clear that if you go out from the pit lane, you're gonna hit someone else, no matter what, you're gonna get a pit stop and go of 10 seconds. And guess what? Nothing happened last night. So everybody managed to stop exactly inside the boundary. So basically the system is working. So small change of rules. So yesterday we had 5 people racing. So Mike T with these with the M6 actually he kind of joined us after qualify, so for race 1. So I put the car there anyway, just for taking picture. So we did the practice section. So, and actually, although it was difficult, I mean, traction was up there, so not a big problem. Then we did qualify. So Alex, so I've been working on his car because it's been kind of slower, but actually he's running an NSR 720. But now I think it's much quicker. But although this lap was not this was basically coming out at the end of the main straight, and unfortunately I cannot lead fastest lap in this system, so he stayed there. But he managed to do 5.61, 5.62, so basically quicker than what I managed to do. So he got the pole position for the first race. So we went in race one. So this was the grid. So Mike T joined us, and then we had all the others. And at the beginning of the race, I got knocked out by, I think Alex was. So, and then the race was kind of being downhill from there, trying to chase him up. So he was basically in the lead for most of the race. I managed to run out of damage point before the first pit stop, so I had to stop, refuel, and repair. So I was running maybe 2 or 3 laps behind Alex, but I didn't give up. So, and by the time I kind of went to our last pit stop, then Alex got some trouble inside the pit lane, and I had to kind of go out and come back. So I managed basically to get the lead on that, and I maintained the lead until the end. So cars more or less, my car was quicker than his car actually. So as in terms of best lap, but I don't know, this changed in during the end of the evening. So his car became much quicker and mine kind of slowed down. So Combi, although he arrived late, and so Mike T joined us late, he managed a good 3rd place, so 113 laps, close to Alex 115, so it's not bad at all. And as you can see, everybody in terms of damage points is within the single digit, which is pretty good. So this is the grid for race 2. Race 2, I think, yeah, I mean, my race was pretty good. The car was behaving, although at the beginning it was very slow. I think too much traction, I think. But behaved pretty well. So I didn't do any kind of stupid things. And the only kind of damage point I think was because someone else messed up with my car. It stopped, I mean, it came out and then my car came in and boom, going out, or maybe kind of some other kind of small things that happened during contact during racing. Alex had to repair, but was still kind of close by. Now the solid 3rd place for Combi, so for Mike T with his M6 that is basically more glue nowadays than plastic, but I keep basically repairing the car and keep running. It's going pretty well. So then race 3, in semi dark conditions. Again, race wise was not bad, only 2 outs, and I think I got Alex because he had a bit more damage points than I got. And what happens is kind of strange is that because in the first part of the race he's always kind of ahead of me, and then during the second part, then I don't know if he's his tires are picking up a lot of marbles from the truck, but despite that, his lap time is, he has a 5.64, which is a legit lap time. Is quicker than my car. As I say, my car was kind of slowing down during the night, and more or less the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, some similar kind of situation. For the last race, so kind of reverse grid from the finishing of race 3. So I start from the back, and in this race, Alex actually got the best of the 2 of us, and he was again leading most of the time. Had a couple of offs during the second part of the race, but not that much. And then I was gaining on him, so I think we had like 40 seconds, and the difference between us was maybe a couple of straights distance. So I was gaining, and then I had one off just like around those 40 seconds before the end, and the race was basically kind of over. I mean, I didn't manage to gain again. It got to like almost an half lap in front of me, and that was what remains. But both of us stayed there when we managed to complete 118 laps. Good racing. I mean, yeah. So Alex is his car is much happier than it was before. So it's, I have good competition there, and the other good car is another 720, but sideways from Jan. So Jan did come last night because he was not feeling well, and was good because basically today tested positive. So at least I dodged that bullet basically last time. That's all. So yeah. So yeah, racing is getting better and better. So next week I think I'm gonna bring out again the Group C's and do another longish kind of races, so up 2 half-an-hour race and then one sprint race with the car prepared by me, which are close car as well. So we'll see what happens there. Thank you.
Question.
Yeah, good.
Question for you. What race program is that?
So it's RCS 02.
For oxygen.
RCS 02?
Yeah, so there is a version of it that is what Mike used that is for SSD, that is called RCS 64, but we're using the version for oxygen. So the same guys, and they implemented a kind of a downsized version of RCS 64 for oxygen.
It doesn't work for analog tracks, Russ.
Never mind.
All right, thanks, Gio, and always good to have the competition getting closer. That always makes things more fun. Mike, are you ready to do it? Not yet. There you go.
Yeah, now I am. Yeah, we raced on Tuesday this week because of Memorial Day, and the second race that we ran was Formula One's, the Scale Auto Formula One's. I've got 2 of those and 1 NSR. And traditionally, the NSR has been a little bit slower, but not much. So the 3 of us were back and forth for 125 laps, and we all finished on the main straight on the same lap.
Wow.
With like 6 feet in between. And unfortunately, the video's already up if anybody wants to see it. It was pretty amazing. I got 4 laps down and I managed to claw it back. I had a lot of offs due to the ghost cars. We ran 2 ghost cars at once, which of course, you know, there was only a small bit of difference in speed of the 2 ghost cars. So about every 15 or 20 laps, they would get together and you couldn't get around them. And there's nothing better than be able to split the 2 of them on a lane changer. It's really, really a good shot if you can do that. But it's frustrating to get there. And sometimes it actually, you could get ahead of somebody, you know, make almost a quarter of a lap if they get stuck just as after you made the pass and you hit the lane first in the right spot. So there was a lot of that going on. That was kind of interesting to watch. There was, you know, with Formula One cars are inherently a problem because open wheels go off really easily. And so there was a little bit more carnage than usual, but it was still pretty close and interesting. And the first, I think 20, 25 laps, I think I went off 6 times and had to get, and it was mostly due to just a little bit of slide out on the Formula One car. I've got a Carrera Formula One car that I use as a ghost car. And I used another one, a Scale Electric. Scale Electric wasn't quite as bad, but the Carrera one is wide enough. And it doesn't, I took one of the magnets out because with the FF motors, 125 lap race in 25 minutes or so, the motors start to go visibly slower and, you know, take a chance on, you know, if it blows the chip otherwise, and that's a big problem there. So consequently, the width of the car and the fact that it didn't have quite enough magnetism meant that it would slide a little bit on certain corners if you didn't hit it just right. So it made it extra challenging, to say the least. So,
how many pit stops did you guys have to do?
What's that?
How many pit stops did you have to do and all that?
Usually 4. I set it up so you go about 25 laps for fuel. And then, of course, if you got damage, you got to fix it. That's a whole nother setup. And if you get damaged, it's 12 seconds for the full 5 damage points. So it's a significant loss of time. So damage points can make a huge difference. But it really kept it close this time. It was really fun to watch. I got lucky. I cleaned up this week. It's the first time I've done that in quite a while. Usually the home field advantage used to have something, but not so much anymore. So it's getting closer and closer, as you can see, with that close a finish. So it was good racing. It was really fun. So that's it. That's all I got.
I'm gonna have to go watch that. I'll do a quickie. We raced the Skelextric BTCCs again, non-mag, Paul Gauge urethanes, and on a routed track. I posted a video of one of the heats. They are challenging little cars to get around. And like I said earlier, I need to do some work on mine, primarily gluing in the bushings and motor so that I stop getting so much chatter. But yeah, they're fun cars, for what they are, right? They're not NSR, they're not slotted, but they're fun cars. True the wheels, you're good to go. Have some fun. And I think I got a not last, so that's the important part. Somewhere in the middle, but not the podium and not last. That's all that matters. All right, Dennis, go ahead.
Just a couple of announcements about upcoming races. Saturday, Buena Park Raceway in Southern California, Retro 124th scale racing. Sunday at Electric Dreams. This Sunday is the first of the SCX sponsored kids racing series for the summer. There will be 4 races on the first Sunday of the next 4 months. So anybody who has sons or daughters or nephews or nieces or grandchildren wants to bring them around and get them involved there, that's the way to do it. First Sunday of the month. Second Saturday of the month, which is a week from now, there will be Electric Dreams Can-Am Pro class and the Can-Am Amateur, Can-Am Light class. Those will be run on the second Saturday. And that's all I've got for now, I think.
I'm going to fill in Marco's shoes real quick. I think during right after the chat started, I got an email saying that the sign up for the Slotted Nationals has not been filled. He knows of enough racers to fill the roster, but they've not actually signed up. So if you want to get in the shoes of some racer who's being too slow to actually go to the website and sign up, you can take one of those spots and get in on that Slotted Nationals.
Correct, because there's only 75 spots and you got to get on with it, or 72 spots, excuse me. Everything at the Electric Dreams works in multiples of 6.
Yep.
Because of the lanes on the track. So 72 spots. We already have 36 signed up, but there are others people that we know that want to be there, but unless they get signed up, you can still get in. I would get onto that right away.
Yeah. If you want to be there, you better go sign up. Otherwise, you're going to lose your spot.
Yep. Be there or be square. So which one of you guys are coming? You kind of come down to that. I know Jim Rose will be there.
For sure.
I'm going to sign up 36 more times and eliminate some of the competition.
Yeah, we need Gio to come over. Come on, Gio, get on a plane.
There you go. There's an educational conference you need to attend in LA that weekend.
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk Courtney into it.
Eventually, I think I will come and visit you guys there. But I don't think that this event I will make. I mean, I want to prioritize some digital racing first.
Oh, okay.
In Europe. I'll see whether basically the guys in Brussels are gonna do something in the new Paul Ricard track. They have this huge Ingo track that I would really like to try. And
when Polycar comes out with their lane changer, I'm going to push hard on Alan to get a digital race of some sort going where he can just lay the Polycar on top of his wood tracks and have a proper digital event. I'm going to push hard for that. We'll see if we can make that happen. So yeah, maybe I'll see you.
You could probably push Marco hard for that too.
Yeah, and there you go. You can push Marco hard for that in my stead. I'll work on Alan, you work on Marco, and we'll see who gets one going first. Because
you want to make this a competition?
Sure, I'll tell Alan there's going to be a competition for a Polycar digital event.
It's going to be the first team in US.
First proper digital event in the States.
Yeah. And speaking of that, does either of you know, or can you say, does Polycar have a program where a store can buy, even at beyond discount, to put a track in?
Like get it?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, probably not less than.
I think it would be to their advantage to do that.
I mean,
yeah, I would expect so, but I don't know that.
They don't even know about it. They don't even donate track to the. I mean, I guess the lane changes are out, so it's not really a big deal yet.
Well, they don't have to donate it, but obviously, if the distributor for Polycar is making money on it, they have their landed cost and they have their sale cost. If they could discount it to a landed cost to basically sell it for nothing, they're not losing money, but they're not making anything on it. If a store is willing to put a permanent track in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Have to be the selling point there. That's not likely.
Can I, since basically I think we're out of Club Corner, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I need to share the screen. So I've been shopping for grab screws on AliExpress and came across these ones.
Yeah, the points.
Yeah. So have you guys thought about putting? I was thinking that this one would be much better to put under the front axle because the contact point would be minimal. I'm gonna cut basically the front axle in 3 parts if I put this one in. Because I already lost a front axle the other week, but that was because a wheel come off. But what do you guys think?
Don't put a titanium screw under a steel axle, but otherwise it shouldn't cut the axle.
Those are stainless steel, those ones, right?
Yeah.
I got the black steel ones that are pointed like this a long time ago. I got a ton of them now from AliExpress. They work fine. I mean, but I'm not pro like you guys, so I don't notice the difference. Like if it rolls any better, but I definitely get better pointing when I'm leveling the axle.
But the axle is going to have to be in the chassis without any slop in it, or as the natural slop like in an SR, it's going to move up and down as it goes across that point.
Yeah.
What kind of car is this for, Gio?
It's just like plastic cars. I mean, like I don't know, GT3 cars that I normally
sideways.
use. Sideways, slotted.
Slotted or something like that?
Slotted and sideways. That they use these M2 grab screws to go through.
Why not just use the spherical bushings that they have, the bronze ones, stick those in the slot in the front uprights, and then use the set screws to control the position of the bushing.
Yeah, but with the slotted or sideways, you have the top ones that basically are controlling. They could control basically the bushing height, but for the one at the top, at the bottom, they're usually more inboard.
Yeah, there's no place for a bushing.
So they don't sit underneath. So I would like to use this one under the axles.
Well,
I would try it.
Yeah, I'd give it a whirl. The ones under the axle are of far less importance than the ones on top of the axle.
Agreed.
Yeah, because it's more important to limit the upwards motion so that the car doesn't dive.
Well, I mean, when the car is on the track,
the
bottom ones don't. I mean, the bottom ones control, vertical axle movement when the car is not on the track.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, I set my front axle with almost no slope. I like it to be level, right? So basically, there is always a bit of a contact there. And I can see that there is a contact with my axle because when I put a bit of oil, you can see the marks of the grab screws, you know, around the, but I mean, I was thinking, this is something that, because the patch that is touching the axle is so small.
Why not just run an axle tube?
I don't know that it makes much difference one way or the other. You know, they're not expensive. Try it.
Yeah, I already bought them. I was just thinking, it's like, you know, is this something that is, you know, people are not doing it because, you know, will cut through axle? Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, but you know, I'm gonna try
through an axle. Stainless steel on one of the slotted or sideways axles. The axle is way harder than the set screw.
But yeah, I'm sure he's joking about that. But yeah, there's no reason to not use this kind of set screw for the bottom at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. That I think I'm going to use also for actually what Chris says makes much more sense. That these are the top ones that are sitting always on it.
As long as you're using setting the height of the bushing rather than trying to.
As long as you have a car that runs on its wheels.
I think the SCX Pro came with these kind of pointed screws in it, if I remember correct, because that's the first time I saw them and started buying them from AliExpress later.
Well,
okay, I didn't know that.
I only have one SCX Pro car, and I don't remember these types.
I have had zero problems with hollow point or flat point set screws for years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean, same here, right? I mean, no, it's not that I'm. Sorry, I mean, I'm not trying to solve a problem. I just try to see whether there is a slight advantage there. I mean, because of less friction, but maybe
You're actually trying to find a problem that would be the solution for.
Right. Yeah.
It's called marginal gains.
Yeah, marginal.
Yeah, that's
called big pharma.
Isn't that sort of like reverse engineering?
Yeah. Basically, academics, we basically kind of create a solution and then try to find a problem, right? That's how it works. So that's maybe professional.
Dewan had some good suggestions for something to talk about, unless anybody else is just dying to jump in with something they wanted to ask. All right, I'm going to go with what Dewan posted to me.
May I just interrupt? I got a notification that the package has been delivered.
Yep, the Porsche 935 is in John McKenzie's Iceman Decals' possession.
Somewhere.
At least on his doorstep.
Hooray.
All right, so Dewan had a good discussion topic. How do you prepare for an upcoming club race? For example, what are some of the typical practices that people use to prepare their cars? You know, like you have different classes, and you want to narrow down, you know, how you choose your car, what kind of tests you do to choose a car, what are your, you know, what is your priority for, you know, addressing, you know, tuning, not necessarily the whole kit and caboodle, but, you know, if you were just like gonna go pick a couple of cars and race with them, how would you choose the car and what would you do to get race ready as quickly as possible? Is that pretty good, Dewan?
Yeah, pretty good. And then the second side of the question was, after you pick your car, what additional things do you do? You know, oil it, change the braids, or do things like that after you picked out that one car?
Quick prep kind of things.
I mean, the first thing I think will be, tires, right? I mean, that will be my first thing. I mean, basically glue through the rear tires, make sure that they are as smooth as you can make them. And then front tires, same thing, you know, but this time with, you know, you cone them, make sure that everything is super, you know, runs super smooth. Then if you have different cars that you can pick and choose, I don't know. I mean, that's depending on the class. So you want something that is wide as possible, let's say, and low as possible, and light. If it's not light, then you take your grinder out, whatever, if you can, and make it lighter. I mean, whatever you can do.
Long-term prep, though.
Yeah, I mean, but that's I mean,
like if you got invited to a race, if you walked into Electric Dreams and then said, "Hey, we're having a race tonight for this class," and you had to go pick a car and get it ready,
I would say bye. See you next week. I mean, you cannot do. I mean,
that
it's like
it's a
the
thought
very
experiment.
first thing you do. The very first thing you do is you look at what all the fast guys are running.
There you go.
If you need to check, if you need to test the car, if you need to choose a specific car, you look at what all the fast guys are running, because they've done all that work already. So you walk into Electric Dreams next Saturday for Can-Am, and you look at the cars.
M6.
You're going to see McLaren M6s and McLaren Elvas from Thunderslot. You're going to see Porsche 908 from NSR. You're not going to see basically anything else, although there are probably a dozen cars that fit that class.
I really want to come down there and run my Shadow.
Yeah,
I'm taking mine with me, but I haven't got it up to anywhere near the speed of those cars yet. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is what tires are the fast guys running? As Gio says, tires are the number, like Alan used to say, the number one tuning aid is tires. Got to get the tires right. After that, it's maybe a little bit of weight here and there, or it's a guide, or it's a, depends on the car.
And the rules.
If you choose a
and the rules, if
you choose an NSR, you probably don't have to do a lot except maybe put a deeper guide in it. If you choose a Revell monogram Lola T70 for the Can-Am class, you've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Let me clarify a little bit more on that. So, for example, we have our club races coming up this weekend, and one of the races is using the Revo slot GT2 and 3, the Revo slots. And I have 3 of them. So my routine was to just go ahead and run, take all 3 of those cars and run them across all 4 of my lanes, and try to do like a comparative test of both speed as well as the ability to keep it in the slot. And I keep track of the number of D slots that I have and everything up in each car. So I have
which track are you gonna race it on? So it's a plastic track.
It's gonna be a plastic track. It's gonna be a skill electric plastic track for 4 lanes for this weekend. Yeah. So that was giving me a good, and I know that there's complete differences when you go to different type of tracks of wood versus plastic versus different brands.
Yeah, not only the surface, but the design. I mean, if you're going to be running on Nigel's track, there's not really anything that looks like a long straightaway on that track, and the turns are quite tight. I would be using the shortest car. I would run a Porsche in that Revo slot.
That's what about the one car is actually right now. Yeah. So
that goes back to what Dennis said, though. If you're going to a known track that's not known to you but known to others, look what the fast guys are running. There's a reason why they're running what they're running.
Yeah.
No matter what the fast guys are running, they're not taking them right out of the box.
Yeah.
So it's
not even if the rules say you have to take it out of the box.
Yeah.
Dewan, question. I always try to. It's not so much the car you pick or the parts you use; it's what you do with the parts. So, is the chassis flat? Right. Is the chassis flat? Sorry.
All the usual stuff. I mean, so you have 3 cars that you're trying to choose between. So do everything you can to those cars before you bring them to the track. True and glue all the tires you can, and whatever the spec tire is, or whatever the specs require. Do everything you can to all 3 of the cars. And then when you get there, what I like to do at most of the tracks that I run on have a DS lap counter, which basically will do a loud beep every time you get a fast lap for your lane. So when I have more than one car, I go ahead and just put one of them. I don't even, care which one I put. I just put it on the track and do like 10 or 20 laps, trying to get the fastest lap I can. And then I put the next one on. And if I hear a beep, then that's the one that I need to use, or, better then, right? If I have another car, I put it on the track, and if I hear a beep, that's probably the one that I should be using. Of course, the whole time I'm also judging, like you said, how well I can get it around the track reliably. Am I worried about it the whole time, or is it easy to drive? Sometimes I choose the car that's easier to drive over the one that got the hot lap, because I'm getting more consistent laps, But before I even get to that point, I'm doing everything I can to get the car running as well as I can if I have the time.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, like, I don't know if it is a one-off doing, but if I go to my regular kind of club, what I do is I also, like, on a given night, so if there is a specific class, I take whatever car is for that, and then also put in my bag the cars for the next night, for instance. So that's basically what I do is, after the race is over, I can do some testing and fine tune. So for instance, I never tune cars that are going on a wood track on my plastic truck, because I know that the behavior will be completely different. It's completely useless. And then when you take that car on the one that you want to test on the truck, do as many laps as you can, do some fine, small tuning, kind of setting the pod, the float, or whatever, the body pod, or whatever, small things that you can do while on the truck, and then see what kind of laps you can get.
Juan, for Revo Slot, how many? You said you had 3 cars?
Yeah,
All
I have
of them are Porsche.
Yeah, I have the 911 Porsche. I have
No, how many? You have 3 cars?
Yes, I do have 3
How many
cars.
sets of tires do you have with you?
I do have spares, but we have club spec tires, and so
But there's no such thing as a spec. The tires are not created equal.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So sometimes what I do is I take the car that when I'm testing 2 or 3 cars, take the car that's the fastest and take those tires and put it on the second fastest car and see if it's the car or the tires.
I don't know if they'll match. I'll double check that though. That's a good thought.
Yeah, if they don't, like when I go to Group C races, I've got 10 sets of tires with me for 2 cars.
The thing with the Revo slots, if you're running, because those will run on their stock tires, I'm sure.
Yeah, the stock tires.
But there's 2 different stock tires. There's a narrow one and a wide one. The early Porsches came with a narrower tire, and the early Macrosses came with a narrower tire than the later cars. And very often the narrower tire is better because it allows the car to slide a little, and it makes it much more predictable.
Wow.
What have you done to the car so far, DeJuan?
Just chewed the tires.
Gave them to me and got them prepped.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, didn't you give them to me and get them prepped?
Not for those Revos, not these Revos.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay.
I know I prepped Revos for somebody for far out, but
Have you aligned the uprights? Have you aligned the bushings? Have you set the guide depth?
I did initially. I need to I will recheck them, but yeah, I did initially, but it was based on my setup block and was different from where I went to race it at. So I probably need to adjust it for where this is going to be a Sillage track. So that's, yeah, so I may have to make some adjustments on that as well. And I probably should get some sample tracks just to work with before I get there. I do have some Sillage track out here. I can actually put it on and test it out. So we've done that. I've made some adjustments I had some assistance in adjusting the float of the bodies, and so that seems to be pretty good.
Or the chassis, because there is not much float with the body.
Yeah, misspoke. Thank you. Yeah, so but those are the typical things that I've done. And then again, I took all 3 cars and I ran them across all 4 of my lanes and looked at the drivability of each of the 3 cars and then the speed. So, and it was always a mixture. The faster car would have more tough. I would deslide a few more times than that than with the slower car. So it's a kind of process of how well I can handle the car that I can handle the best. Slightly slower might be better than the faster cars that deslides a little bit easier.
Well, if you figure, one car is 1/10 of a lap quicker or slower than the other one, right? If you come off, you're losing 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That's 30 laps. That's 30 laps of 1/10 of a second to make that up.
Yeah,
so, the biggest thing is be comfortable with the car, put it on the track, drive it around and around and around and around. Don't come off and you'll do well.
And that's,
or you can have a couple of bonsai laps and go, hey, I set the quickest lap when I was 7th. Like,
yeah, that's not doing anybody. That's not doing me any good. Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, that's much more fun though. It's like with golf. I'd rather hit the ball hard than hit it straight.
Yeah, I mean, depends on why you're there. Do you want to win the race or do you want to claim hot lap?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all good.
Well,
I appreciate that.
For me, it's a little bit different in that regard. First off, what tires are you using on a Scalextric track? The stock ones, or
we have to use the stack, the out of the box. I mean, out of the box tires is what we're
out of the box from
Revo slot.
There's no way to differentiate the softer compounds from the harder compounds on Revo slots that I know of. So you might want to consider going with the softer ones just in case it works better and try them and see. You know what I mean?
The fast guys will.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to hear this, guys. I don't want to hear it. It says out of the box tires, out of the box tires.
That's what I've done. That's what I've done. I've stuck to the rules. I use straight out of the box. I trued them.
Right. Put 3 magnets in it, change the motor, and put a Lexan body on it, and you'll kill everybody.
Yeah,
they
well,
didn't specifically say which box the tires had to come out of, did they?
Yeah.
Well, there's something to
are you
stop
running
you
one
from
of those?
Also testing out different tires that are the stock number tires, because there's going to be differences in the batch. That's my point.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can go either way on that. For my racing, I have to do it a little bit differently because I have to make cars that are relatively equal. So I will start out with doing test laps with the cars, and I have the tires that I use are all G25 slotteds. So there isn't much I can do with that, and just test the laps and then start playing with it a little bit. With most of my cars are set up for my track anyway, so I don't have to worry too much about differences in other tracks. But I will go through the usual things you're talking about: front end setup, put a new set of braids in it if it looks like the braids are bad, because braids can make a big difference if you've got good contact. Let's say if you've got a little bit of burning on the braids, that can actually slow your car down enough. But the best handling car is the one that you want, the one that you feel most comfortable with. If you have choices that way, you would never want to go into a race with a car that's edgy, unless you're able to back off enough to do it.
Do people normally change the braids in the Revos, because the Revos come with the tin braids versus the copper braids?
Are braids spec to be out of the box on the Revo, or can you change the braids?
Oh, well, I think we do have the liberty of changing the braids. And, the different
Duan, just go to Eddie's house and borrow a couple of cars. He's still in Greece.
With Revo slot, you don't have any adjustability in the front suspension, so you can't set the height. The only thing that I know of that you can adjust is the slop in between the two pieces of chassis.
And the gear mesh.
But you have to adhere to you can't play with that either. Is that correct?
What
You could probably
Yeah,
tune.
according to the rules
there's
of
four-
that club, you can't play with it.
Oh, okay. All right.
They've got to be as close to box stock as possible.
But you can true the tires, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
In which case that truing the tires on the front end, left versus right, if you need to, takes set screws out of the equation. You can do the same thing. It's more fiddly, but you can certainly do it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, repeat that. Set the set screws on the front end.
Since you can't adjust since you can't adjust the front ride height on either side of the front axle, you could true one tire more than the other in order to get all four wheels properly planted. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yep, absolutely. And you can true them down in size, or to get more guide in the track, you can true the tires down or leave them where they are and put guide spacers in. You can go with thinner braid, which gives you more blade into the slot. You can alter the diameter of tires left to right to compensate for a lack of an adjustable front end ride height left to right. It's all kinds of stuff you can do.
Don't those have spring-loaded guides?
Yes.
Anyway, on that note, I'm going to stop the stream, but we'll keep chatting and everybody wave bye until next week. Bye. Here we go. Ending.
Thank you.